they handle a relapse in cancer differently. So they basically call it like first line treatment and second line treatment, etc. And the chemotherapy that I received this time is a lot stronger.
Right.
It's a lot harsher to the body, a lot more toxic.
Hey, I'm Tom,
And I'm Andy.
and this is On The Node, a podcast about two best mates and one cancer journey. Andy, how are you, mate?
I'm very good. I am enjoying recording episodes this week. This is our third session.
Yeah, in 3 days or 2 days?
3 days.
Yeah, we're absolutely smashing them out. Talk us through this hoodie, by the way.
It's a Seattle Seahawks hoodie. So when we talked about the wrong sports in
Very, very wrong.
a previous episode, I am a NFL fan, an American football fan. If you
Hence.
hence
Yeah.
the little giveaway up here. Seattle Seahawks is the team I follow.
Are they doing well? Did they do well last season?
Not really. They didn't make the playoffs last season,
It's a
but
shame.
this season hasn't started yet.
Okay,
So
well, all the best.
very exciting for September.
All the best for September, mate. What are we talking about today?
Well, today is our bonus episode.
The B-Ep.
So we're going to take a leap through time in a way.
Yeah?
So we've been following the story of my 2022-2023 experience, which was my first time going through lymphoma treatment.
Yep.
And we've just had Lan on for her experience as a partner. But we're going to jump through
She
to...
did very well, by the way.
She did spectacularly.
Blew it out of the water.
And we hope that all of our audience enjoyed her inputs and
Very
thoughts
well.
and
Very
feelings.
well.
It was a
Very
very emotional episode. So anyway, so we're taking that leap through time to basically this year. And the reason we're doing that is in episode 5, when we recorded a couple of days ago, I'd just come back from 2 weeks in hospital.
Yeah.
And we're basically going to talk about why I was there and what that was for.
So I think, and let's get straight into it. So I think it was in episode 5 where I told the story where I recently went to visit you, and the day that I went, you were a complete space cadet, right?
I was out of it. Yeah.
But I think the reason why that was, and what you mentioned in episode 5, was it's because the treatment is different this time round because you relapsed, right?
Exactly. So context again for our audience, because we've not reached the sort of relapse part in the story,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we will get there later in the series. But essentially in February of 2025, I was diagnosed with lymphoma again. I think we've covered it off in the past, that stage 3
Yeah.
lymphoma this time. And I'm going through a treatment process that's different to before. So as we know, I've gone through AAVD chemo in 2023, and this time I had to do 3 cycles of ICE or ICE.
Ice.
Yeah, ice baby. It's what you're getting to, but someone's got to say it for you. So I had to do 3 cycles of ICE chemo this time,
Yeah.
which is when you came to visit me
Right.
on the second day. So
And is it ICE or is it ICE?
you can call it either.
Okay,
the
whatever.
the acronym is
Potato,
ICE.
potato.
Yeah, but people just say ICE, I guess.
Okay, fine.
And I'll go into ICE in more detail another time, but essentially ICE is a 3-day treatment rather than 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
And you visited me on day 2 of that treatment.
Correct, yeah.
And I was pretty spaced out from some of the
ICE.
sort of the symptom management drugs that they were giving me at the time.
Got it. Why, basic question, why is the treatment different?
Well, it didn't work the first time, did it?
Yeah.
Why try again? I don't know. The honest answer is I'm not a doctor, as
Yeah,
you know. So it's just that they handle a relapse in cancer differently. So they basically call it like first line treatment and second line treatment, etc. And the chemotherapy that I received this time is a lot stronger.
Right.
It's a lot harsher to the body, a lot more toxic, and hopefully, therefore, more successful
effective,
at fighting it off. So essentially, where we're kind of getting to is this treatment plan was 3 cycles of chemotherapy, ICE, and the aim of that was to push the cancer into remission again.
Yeah.
So that's done. At the point of recording, I've done those 3.
Happy days.
And I've had a scan that says that has been
Confirmed,
successful.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that scan means that they cannot see any cancer in the body.
Is my understanding.
Yeah,
Okay. Through that imaging, which is never definitive because all you need is one cell. But essentially, it was a strong indicator.
Yeah.
And that's building up to a treatment that I'm sort of part way through, I suppose, which is what we're going to get into today.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be having a autologous stem cell transplant.
Excellent. So what is an autologous stem cell transplant?
Oh, you're really testing me here.
Correct.
So, again, not a scientist, so
Yeah.
I can't wait for our huge following of the medical profession to
Millions.
correct me on this. But essentially, the autologous part is stem cells coming from me. So I'm
Your own stem cells.
my own stem cells.
Yeah.
And they will rescue me, or they will transplant those back into me
Okay.
later on.
Got it. So they take it out and they smash it back into you.
Yes, but they do other things first.
Yes, which we'll get onto.
Yeah, we will.
And before we get onto that, basic question, even more basic question, what's a stem cell?
So I did some Googling before this recording
Excellent.
to make sure I could try and give an answer that wouldn't offend too much of the science community. A stem cell is essentially a cell in your body that has it serves no purpose in your bodily function,
Yeah.
but it can then become another cell. So a stem cell...
It's like a sleeping cell.
So a stem cell could become
Like
a
a
brain
dormant
cell.
cell.
It could become a blood cell.
So it could be anything.
Yeah, it's like Wonder Juice.
But oh, wow. I actually didn't know that. I just thought that there were cells there in the stems of your body somewhere.
Honestly, I had all mine taken out of me last week, and I didn't know until I Googled it yesterday.
Where do they reside mainly, these
Bone
stem
marrow.
cells? So stem cells are in the bone marrow.
Yes.
They do not know what they're going to become, but become something they will. It's very philosophical almost.
Yeah, I guess.
It's the philosophy of stem cells. Okay, excellent. So we now know what a stem cell is. They've taken... The process is they take it out to put it back in. But there's stuff that happens both in the lead up and during that. Like what's that?
Yeah, and maybe we should answer, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
Like, right? So if my cancer's already in remission, then why would they they go through all of this? Why put me through it? So the objective is essentially to reduce the risk of the cancer coming back.
And what's the logic?
So that's where it gets into those steps, essentially.
Right,
and
okay.
The simplest way I can describe it to people, and the way I describe it to people now, and again, I'm probably offending all the doctors out there, the hematologists,
Wouldn't worry about
oncologists,
that.
is essentially, it's like a human reset button or an immune system reset button.
Factory reset.
Factory reset.
Okay.
And the way they do that is in the transplant, which I have yet to experience, and we will do bonus episode part 2.
A B-ep.
A B-ep on that, is they give you high dose chemotherapy, which the way my doctor kindly described it is 10 times stronger than anything I've had.
Including
so far.
ice.
Including ice.
Bloody hell. What? That's what you've got to look forward to.
That's what I've got to look forward to. And then that essentially wipes out your bone marrow in your body. And they use the stem cells that they take from your body to put it back in
to your bone marrow,
into your blood, which then goes into your bone marrow, which then, as we said, stem cells are yet to be defined, so they're going to then define themselves as bone
Good
marrow and white blood
cells.
cells
Right, okay.
and rebuild your immune system.
Wow.
So that's why it's a stem cell rescue, because the stem cell transplant isn't doing anything really to fight the cancer. The chemotherapy is doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
The stem cells are rescuing you from the toxicity of that cancer.
Yeah, it's almost like the stitches that you put into a cut to ensure that it never opens again. God willing.
Yeah, maybe.
More or less.
Yeah.
We'll go there. Okay.
Simplified.
So, yeah. So in the lead up to so they have to take your stem cells out, right?
Yeah.
And that's referred to as, is it a harvest or?
Yeah, stem cell harvest, or I think
Okay.
sometimes they use collection.
Got it. Any steps that they have to do prior to that collection?
Yeah, so that's the experience I've just been through.
Got it.
So I've just been through the harvest a week ago yesterday, actually, from the time of recording. And I was in hospital for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the process is to mobilize your stem cells. So as you mentioned, the stem cells are
Playing some music to get them going.
Yeah,
Playing Lady Gaga to get them going.
They are boogieing their way out of the bone marrow into the bloodstream.
Okay.
And the reason is
What sort of music are they playing to get them out of there?
Lady Gaga.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
And the reason they do that is because the method of collecting or harvesting is called a peripheral blood stem cell collection.
Okay, we're getting quite technical now.
Yeah, well, this is what the audience wants to hear about.
They do. They've been clamoring for it.
They didn't know it, but they found out.
Yeah.
Essentially they mobilize the stem cells through a series of drugs, including a small dose of high dose chemotherapy.
Ice or different?
Cyclophosphamide.
Excellent. Yeah.
So that's one method, and then they also
rolls off the tongue, that doesn't it?
It is. It's very easy.
Yeah.
And then they also have these injections, which I was receiving 4 a day, straight into
straight into the bone?
No, straight into my abs.
Yeah.
Okay. My rippling abs.
Not your handles.
Not my handles.
Okay.
No, don't have those anymore, Tom.
You will.
And so I had 4 injections a day of GSCF, I think it is, or GCSF, one of the two, and they are essentially a booster injection.
Okay.
And all of these processes essentially encourage the stem cells to flow, to sort of burst out of your bone marrow and into your bloodstream.
Do you feel that? Do you feel them bursting out?
Genuinely, yes, in a weird way.
Do you?
Yeah, so you get this bone pain, which is very uncomfortable. And it's
like everywhere, or just in certain...
In the pelvis, like in the lower back.
That's where the concentration of bone marrow is.
Correct,
right?
well remembered. From...
not just a pretty face, mate.
Episode 2, or episode 3, I can't remember. So essentially you get this sort of really uncomfortable bone pain, and it's almost like it's sort of like pulsates. It's horrible. Anyway, it's not nice. And that's when you know I texted my doctor the night before, like they were doing daily blood tests, mate, to see if the stem cells were in the blood yet. And like I can't remember what day it was maybe the Tuesday, and it sort of wasn't enough. And then the Wednesday I texted my doctor, I said, I can feel the bone pain now. I really reckon we were good to go tomorrow. And then he replied like half an hour later with the blood test result. He goes, yep, you're absolutely right. We don't need these blood tests. We can just listen to you now.
Yeah.
So they mobilize it, and then that puts it in the bloodstream.
And then once it's in the bloodstream, what happens?
So this is the bit that I haven't even told you offline.
Go on. Spontaneity.
Yeah, so they have to install another catheter.
Okay.
So I had a Hickman catheter. We talked about it multiple times.
Little hickey.
But because of the need to get flowing blood, they need a wider catheter. This wasn't a nice experience.
Vasovagal.
They were supposed to... Oh, deep. It was supposed to go in my neck.
Oh, mate.
Which is a very normal thing, and people who go through like dialysis for their kidneys and stuff, they have it there. and the experience of that is under local anaesthetic, should only take 5 minutes. So they don't even sedate you properly. Like, it's not like when I had the Hickman in when I was unconscious.
Yeah.
I was just under local, and the doctor was actually really brilliant in his sort of methodology to sort of keep me calm and all this sort of stuff. Lie you on your side, stretch your neck out, and he puts local anaesthetic in and tries to get it in. But essentially, there is some biological anomaly that I have that is apparently affects 5% of the population,
Right.
5 to 7% of the population, where some of your veins are not as straight or don't follow.
So you've got wonky veins.
Wonky veins is one
Yeah.
way to put it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Is not as a standard path,
Yeah.
essentially, and he was trying to get this guide wire
Which goes into the vein.
into the vein,
Yeah.
which then he would, after he gets a guide wire in, he can see that with ultrasound. He would then put this big catheter in because it's quite a big one, so that needs a little nick basically. But he couldn't get it in. Like he found the vein, but he couldn't get the guide wire to the depth that he needed to. So after 15 minutes of trying and him kind of, sort of what I can only describe as ramming on my neck with this thing.
Like a little chisel.
Well, no, it's just it's like a syringe with a long wire in it. That's when I basically passed out.
Did you?
Yeah, I had a complete vasovagal response. I never went fully unconscious, but the whole cold sweat,
Yeah, came over you.
and like starting to my vision to fade, that all happened. So they had to give up on that, and because of the vasovagal response, what essentially happens with that is to get your blood pressure back up,
They have to.
your veins then close. And they're like, you're absolutely not coming in. So he had to then give up on the neck completely.
Wow.
So I had to have a catheter, a femoral catheter, installed instead. So
Femoral being in your leg.
Yeah. So that was the backup plan.
Okay.
That was pretty smooth going. It's not very comfortable.
Yeah.
It's actually incredibly uncomfortable because you can't really walk around once it's in. So I had to have that in. Anyway, so that was the first step. Once the stem cell count hit the right level,
Yeah.
was to get that catheter in, and after an hour procedure, it should have been 5 minutes to get the one in the neck, turned into an hour because they had to change plan and stuff. I have this catheter coming out of my leg at the top of my thigh.
And then once you got that, I guess they're trying to attach something to then extract the stem cells, or not?
Yeah, and it's really like, this is amazing, and this is, I can't believe that this technology is apparently 40 years old.
Wow.
There's pictures of my doctor in his office with Princess Diana, like using these machines, like
Really?
back in the early 90s in Hong Kong.
Wow. There you go.
So it's called I hope I get this right pronunciation-wise, an apheresis machine or apheresis machine.
Okay.
I'll put a definition on
Yeah,
on
of course.
the image, but essentially, this catheter in my leg has 2 lumens, one to
Remind everyone what a lumen is.
the lumen is
An end.
an end to the catheter, and it will let blood flow, like it sort of sucks blood out of one,
Yeah.
and then puts it through this machine and puts it back in the other lumen.
Yeah.
And what the machine does is it's a cell separator.
It's a sieve.
Kind of, yeah, a sieve. Well, does sieve separate things? Or
Yeah.
just,
Because you put water, if you've got rice in water, you put it in a sieve and then the rice stays in the sieve.
Okay.
A bit like your stem cells.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay, good. so we've got, so basically they're sucking my blood out.
Yeah.
There's white blood cells, red blood cells, and now
You
because
obviously can't see those, right? You can't see the difference. It's just
you
blood.
can, I think. That's the whole point of the machine.
Really?
So the point is this cell separator, whatever it does, like spinning the blood or whatever, is because I think they have different like densities, so they sit at different levels.
Wow.
Like oil on water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they pull the blood through, you've got red blood cells, white blood cells, and because they've been mobilizing
Your stem
cells, it's got stem cells in it. So what they essentially have is these multiple tubes coming through this machine, and two of them mix back together into your white and red blood cells, and then there's a third tube that's going off into this bag
Into
up
the
above you,
sunset, yeah.
and not the sunset yet. The sunset is to go back into me.
Well, quite right.
And it's collecting these stem cells in real time, and you can just sort of see this thing fill up over the course of many hours.
How many? So I was going to say, is that a day's worth of treatment then? That
Essentially, yeah. So I started at 8:30 in the morning. There was a bit of briefing and kind of calibrating the machine, getting it all set up and stuff. And then I was there till 5 o'clock, plugged into the machine that day. So they thought it would be 6 hours, but because of the position of the catheter and the fact apparently I fidget too much because you can't move your leg at all, the process took a bit longer.
Okay. And then I guess process ends, and in theory, you're good to leave hospital after that, but the plot thickened slightly, didn't it? Did you have side effects?
Yeah, so the theory would be you finish the harvest that day, and then they take out the catheter. They keep you in overnight to make sure that that's not bleeding and blood or clotting in a dangerous way, and then you'd go home. But through the mobilization, because I had that high dose cyclophosphamide, that knocked my white blood cell count to 0. And when the white blood cell count hits 0, you're immune compromised.
Yeah.
And I had some kind of insect bite or like minor scratch on my leg, and essentially that turned into a major infection. And I was on antibiotics for days. This is even like before the harvest happened.
So that came before the harvest?
Yeah, about 5 days, 6 days before the harvest.
And did they diagnose it as an insect bite, or it just looked like that?
It just looked like that. It just looked like sort of 2 dots on my leg that all of a sudden went very dark purple,
really?
And very painful and swollen and things. So it was pretty nasty.
Were you able to walk on it?
For 2 or 3 days, no. Well, yes, but very painful. Like I could, because the swelling that, like, I think it's a hematoma. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Like the swelling was so big on my leg, it was like impacting my muscles. So that was quite uncomfortable.
Okay.
So essentially, I was kept in a couple of extra days, and that was just to give me more antibiotics and make sure I was in the best state to be released. In terms of sort of expected side effects from the harvest itself, the only one I really had was potassium deficiency.
How does that manifest itself?
I felt very tingly,
okay,
and very lethargic and tired.
Yeah.
And essentially, it's sort of like almost pins and needles.
Yeah.
I had a lot of weakness in my hands.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel like I could grip anything.
Right.
For a couple of days, so they put me on sort of
supplements.
Potassium pills. And essentially, the reason why that happens is the stem cells tend to bond to red blood cells, I think we were told, and because of that, I think potassium is carried in those cells. So when it's collected, essentially, you're quite likely to get a deficiency in it.
Fine.
And so it was very expected. They thought it would happen. They tested my blood, and that's exactly what happened. So
got it. Cool. So you're out now. They cleared you, gave you not a clean bill of health, but clean enough to leave the hospital.
Yeah, they sent me packing with some oral antibiotics,
Yeah.
and just my normal medications. So a couple of weeks of freedom, which is why we've been rushing all these
smashing through them.
podcast recording sessions, and then I will be going in for the transplant itself.
Indeed, which we will cover in another episode.
Yes, so that will be a long hospital stay, potentially 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But we will cover that in detail in future, because I think that's going to be a fascinating experience that I've only
been told. Could be a two-parter.
Could be, but it's kind of already a part of a two-parter, with this being part 1.
This is the preamble.
Yeah. So that's where I've been the past few weeks, and why we missed an episode the week before recording this.
Got it. Cool. All right, mate. Well, thanks for bringing us through that. It's actually quite fascinating.
Yeah, and I, like I said, the science behind it all is a bit wild. I think it's so quite cool, to be honest.
Agreed.
And seeing the machine was but when Lan came in and saw the machine, and the nurse explained everything to her, and she was fascinated.
Yeah,
She was
I bet.
like, "Woo, science!"
Yeah. Woo.
It's like being in school but without a Bunsen burner.
Yeah. No Bunsen burners.
No, they weren't.
That's
No,
a shame.
Oh, one thing I did fail to mention. I know this is more ice rather than fire.
Okay.
Is, well, what are they doing with the stem cells while they wait?
Yeah.
And they freeze them in liquid nitrogen.
Yeah.
Why? So, well, because it's like minus 200 degrees.
No,
or something.
I know it's cold, but what? Why?
Well, I think they have to process them. I don't quite know.
Plus,
what
they want you
do.
to have 2 weeks off, right?
No, it's more to do it. It takes 16 days to process the stem cells.
Okay, fine.
And I think a part of it is probably because they want to like kill any sort of bacteria that might be in them, and hence the very low temperature. But to be honest, we can correct that answer when I ask the nurse when I go in next time.
Yeah,
and
fact check.
I can be fact checked.
Yeah,
and,
excellent.
And it be in part 2, because I don't know the answer.
Good stuff, mate. Well, thank you. I'm Tom.
And this is Andy.
And that was On the Node.